Good morning, family. You guys are beautiful, loving every minute of it. You guys give me thanks and praises. Now, this video here, you won't see on CNN, you won't see on Fox News because it's blacks coming together as one in Africa, fighting against the regime and the system. They're trying to control the blacks in Africa. Anytime the blacks come together, they always want to try to fuck us over. But these people had enough. Don't forget, this 2025, big changes are happening. The whole world is going through a whole different era of changes. And it's starting with Africa, folks. So we get tired of the bullshit. And this video here for show that white black folks are waking up and they get tired of the bullshit of the colonization, being colonized and being controlled by white people. Those days are done. Those days are done. And here, it's gonna happen here soon. Okay, folks, check the video. It's about 20 minutes long, but hey, it's worth a good watch. Subscribe, share, like the video. Peace out. Much love.
On May 25th, 2025, Accra witnessed one of the largest Pan-African solidarity walks in modern history. But what made this march so powerful? And why were thousands chanting the name of Traore? Let's find out. The sun rose gently over Accra on May 25th, 2025. But by midday, the city's heartbeat had changed. Something in the air was different, not just humid or electric, but expectant. By noon, streets normally crowded with cars and commuters were overflowing with people. But these weren't commuters. These were carriers of a message. From every direction they came, on foot, on bikes, in crowded vans, some even barefoot. What united them wasn't clothing or class, but cause. And that cause had no borders. What began at the African Unity Monument, a structure long regarded as ceremonial and overlooked, soon transformed into a sea of human conviction. From there, the crowd surged toward Black Star Square, Ghana's iconic symbol of independence, as if retracing the steps of giants. This wasn't a national event. It wasn't even a protest. It was a statement, one that didn't require permits, sponsors, or stages. It was made of voices, bodies, rhythm, and memory. The drums weren't official. They were from neighborhoods. The chants weren't printed. They lived. People carried handwritten signs. Africa is for Africans. We are not your colonies. One continent, one destiny. But perhaps more striking than the words were the faces. Teary, proud, focused. Grandmothers walked with grandsons. Refugees walked with professors. Traders and students and mechanics and artists walked as though they were heading not toward a square, but toward a new history. And what struck observers most was the composition of the crowd. It wasn't just Ghanaians, Nigerians, Malians, Burkinabe, Sudanese, Ethiopians, Togolese, Congolese. Africa showed up for itself. Languages blended, flags were exchanged, and in moments strangers clasped hands like long-lost kin. Some carried maps of the continent drawn as one single shape.
Like I said before, folks, you will not see this on CNN or the white news. No, because it's blacks coming together as one. And it's about fucking time. It's about time.
Coordination was flawless. Speeches emerged, but none took over. Leaders of civil movements spoke, but no one claimed authority. It was as if the walk itself was the leader, and the message, passed like a torch, moved from one cluster to another without interruption. One observer, an elderly woman from Guinea, whispered to a reporter, "I thought I would die before seeing this again. But today, we walk like our ancestors did. This is the Africa I prayed for." There were no politicians, and that was the point. By refusing to politicize the moment, the people reclaimed the street, not for a party or power, but for a purpose. Even the Ghanaian police, usually strict on crowd control, stood back. Some even nodded respectfully, silently understanding that this wasn't a threat. It was an awakening. As the march moved closer to Black Star Square, the volume grew, but so did the depth. This wasn't just a show of numbers. It was a show of memory, a reminder that the chains of the past, though loosened, had never been fully broken. And this walk, it wasn't asking for freedom, it was declaring that the leash had snapped. Some participants came with nothing more than their voices. Others came with musical instruments, megaphones, even small children perched on shoulders, eyes wide with awe. The square, when it finally came into view, looked like a beacon, almost sacred at that moment. The Black Star Monument, usually stoic and silent, now stood surrounded by those it had been built for. And yet, through all the energy, there was one strange, unspoken feeling in the air. Not celebration, but urgency. As if this walk wasn't just about this day. It was about what comes next. People were not just walking to something. They were walking away from something too. From fear, from silence, from permission seeking, from the very idea that Africa needs to be validated by someone else's standards. And that urgency pointed to a question rising in every heart present. Why now? Why this year? Why this walk? Why this leader? What changed in the African spirit to make this moment erupt, not in rebellion, but in reclaiming? To answer that, we must look at the man whose name echoed from lips across the continent. A man who wasn't there, yet was felt by all. Not because of what he controls, but because of what he represents. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and has a spark. Sometimes it's a slogan, sometimes it's an incident. But in this case, the spark was a man who did not campaign, did not beg for fame, and did not attend the walk held in his name. His name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and across Africa, it's becoming more than just a name. It's a signal. But why him? Why not any of the dozens of presidents, opposition
Sellouts.
figures, or diplomats
Sellouts.
who've been talking Pan-Africanism for decades? Why is it that a military captain from Burkina Faso, a country not known for regional dominance, has become the lightning rod for a continent's frustration, hope, and rebellion? The answer lies in two powerful forces: authenticity and rupture. Traore's rise didn't come from an election campaign with catchy jingles and foreign donors. It came from a break, a rupture, with the system that Africa has quietly tolerated for too long. A system where leaders sit comfortably in palaces while their people live under drones. A system where natural resources leave the continent faster than ambulances arrive in rural towns. A system where Western approval is silently considered more valuable than African dignity. And then came Traoré. No Harvard credentials, no French diplomatic ties, no offshore mansion, just a young officer who stepped out of line, and in doing so, walked into history. What makes Traoré exceptional is not just that he rejected foreign influence. That's been said before. What makes him different is that he acted on it. In a matter of months, he expelled French troops, seized control of gold exports, refused IMF programs, prioritized local food production, and began aligning Burkina Faso's future not with Western donors, but with its soil and people. And it wasn't just what he did, it was how he did it, with absolute clarity. When asked whether Burkina Faso feared being isolated, Traoré famously responded that isolation from dependency
Mean
isn't just
freedom.
punishment, it's freedom. That line didn't just resonate in Ouagadougou, it traveled to Nairobi, to Lagos, to Bamako, to Kinshasa, and on May 25th, it echoed through Accra like thunder under sunlight. For many Africans, especially the youth, Traoré is the first leader in recent memory who sounds like what they imagined freedom would sound like. Not bureaucratic, not cautious, but bold, principled, and unapologetically African. His speeches don't follow diplomatic choreography. They cut through the noise. When he speaks, you don't hear policy. You hear pain, vision, and refusal. Pain from a past of plunder. Vision for an Africa where being African is not a disadvantage, and refusal to let that vision be negotiated away in air-conditioned boardrooms. But timing is everything. Traoré did not rise in a vacuum. He emerged at a moment when Africa had had enough. Enough of watching leaders shake hands with those who looted their ancestors. Enough of seeing their resources benefit foreign banks while schools crumble. Enough of polite speeches about unity while youth drown in the Mediterranean chasing opportunity. This moment was waiting for someone, and Traoré walked into it, not with promises, but with posture. He did not promise Africa would be rich tomorrow. He promised that Burkina Faso would no longer be submissive today. This distinction is key. Many leaders have promised riches. Few have chosen dignity when poverty still surrounds them. Traoré, by choosing dignity first, became an example, not of perfection, but of possibility. And that possibility is what drew people to the streets of Accra. He wasn't there physically, but his decision to stand alone in Burkina Faso gave others the courage to stand together across borders. It's not about Traoré as a savior. The walk didn't chant his name like worship. It chanted his name like a reference point, a living reminder that yes, it is possible to defy the world and not fall apart. And now, this shared reference point is doing what no AU resolution or summit could achieve. It's connecting people emotionally across borders. But why Ghana? Why was this continental eruption centered in Accra?
Okay, folks, I'm gonna cut it short here because
To answer that, we need to return
you don't know me
to the
already.
whisper
Too long
of
videos.
March, even if
See
not
the whole
written
thing?
on signs, Kwame Nkrumah. When thousands marched through Accra on May 25th, 2025, they didn't just walk toward a square, they walked straight into a memory, one that had been buried under decades of silence, compromise, and slow forgetting. It was the memory of Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president and Africa's first true Pan-African visionary. And though his statue didn't speak that day, his silence roared. To understand why Accra became the ground zero for this movement, you have to go back, not weeks or months, but decades, to a time when Ghana wasn't just a country, but a concept. A living symbol of what post-colonial Africa could become if it dared to dream beyond its borders. In 1957, when Ghana gained independence from British rule, it became the first sub-Saharan African country to do so. Nkrumah declared that Ghana's freedom was only meaningful if it led to the liberation of all of Africa. This wasn't a rhetorical flourish, it was a commitment. He invited revolutionaries from across the continent. He funded anti-colonial struggles in Guinea, Congo, Algeria, and beyond. He dreamed of a United States of Africa, complete with a shared army, shared resources, and one unified African voice on the world stage. But that dream didn't survive the Cold War,
Yeah, they kill him.
military coups, and the rise of aid dependency. Ghana, like many others, eventually traded in its revolutionary fire for economic stability and Western partnerships. Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966, ironically, with help from external forces who feared what a united Africa would mean for global
Yep,
power dynamics.
they always do that.
And so Ghana moved on, or at least it pretended to. Governments changed, policies shifted, foreign embassies multiplied.
Okay, folks, you get the message. Africa United is about frigging time because they have too much. Africa is so rich to be so. Africa is so rich and then it's so poor. That's bullshit. Anyway, folks, much love to you guys. Subscribe, share, like the video, leave a comment. I'm out here. Peace out. Lots of love. Okay, let me go and put a couple hours in the gym and a couple of walks around the block. Peace out. Lots of love, folks.